everybody. We worship a God who is greater than all gods. Oh, our God is greater. Our God is greater. Our God is mighty. Our God is powerful. For those who are just joining in, I got myself better internet quality. So I'm able to do this live stream without having live stream mess ups. So while you're here, take this time and really worship the Lord. Take this time and worship God. Our God deserves it. Our God deserves it. Our God deserves it. We worship you, Jesus. Our God deserves our worship. Our God deserves our worship. Our God, nuestro Dios, mereces toda la adoración. Te alabamos, Señor. Water you turn into wine. Water you turned into wine. Open the eyes of the blind. There's no one like you. No one like you. None like you. Into the darkness. Into the darkness you shine. Out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you. None like you. Our God is greater. Our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God, our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God, our God, our God is greater. Our God is greater. Our God is greater. Into the darkness you shine. Out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you. There's no one like our God. None like you. Our God is greater. Our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God, our God, our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God, our God. And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against it? If our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? What could stand against us? 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 Oh, what could stand against? Oh, our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God, our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Take this time to worship the Lord. Take this time to worship the Lord. If you can see the ticker that's right in the bottom, it says, if you know the song, just worship along with me. It says, feel free to worship the Lord. Feel free where you are, so that the presence of God may come upon you. That in times of great darkness, we need the presence of God to illuminate this place, to illuminate this world. And our God is greater, and we need the world to see that our God is greater, our God is stronger, God is higher than any other. And we need his favor. We need his favor. We need his blessing. We need to seek his face. We need him to shine his light upon us. I wanted to sing this song for so long. But this song, it took a while for me to practice. I'm going to sing this. It's called The Blessing. I'm going to sing it in English and in Spanish. For those who are watching, if you would like, please share this worship stream with other people. Let them take this time, separate their time out of their day to worship the Lord. Just share this. Just share. Just share this video. Just share this live stream. If you're here, just share this live stream. Let's worship the Lord together. Let's share this live stream. Let's worship the Lord. Let's worship the Lord. Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Let's sing that again. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his light shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. All you have to do is say amen. 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 Let's sing amen. 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 Sing amen. 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 Dios te guarde y bendiga, que extiende su amor y muestre tu favor. Dios te mire con agrado y te dé paz. Canta amén. 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 Canta amén. 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 Canta amén. 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 Canta amén. 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 Hasta miles generaciones y tu familia y tus hijos y los hijos de tus hijos, que te cubre con tu gracia hasta 1000 generaciones y tu familia y tus hijos y los hijos hijos, su presencia te acompañe hasta donde que tú vayas, que te llene, te rodee, va contigo, su presencia te acompañe hasta donde que tú vayas, que tú vienes, te rodee, va contigo, que te cubre con tu gracia hasta 1000 generaciones, y tu familia y tus hijos, de tus hijos, su presencia te acompañe, oh Señor, que te llene, te rodee, va contigo en la mañana y en la noche, en tu entrada, en salida, en tu llanto y alegría, Él te ama, Él te ama. Él te ama, Él te ama, Él te ama, Él te ama, Él te ama. May His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. Favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May His presence be with you. May His presence be with you. May His presence be with you. May His presence be for you. May His presence be for you. May His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May your presence go before you and beside you and behind you, all around you and within you. He is with you. He is with you in the morning, in the evening, and you're coming and you're going, and you're weeping and you're rejoicing. He is for you. 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 Worship you, Jesus. Amen. 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 Canta amen. Sing amen. Amen. sing amen. 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 Sing it with me. One more time, one more time. We love you, Lord, where we are in a home, where we are in our home. We adore you, Lord. We adore you, Lord. We adore you, Lord. Lift up your hands. Lift up your hands to worship the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. For those who are musically trained, I'm sorry for that transition. And for those who are just joining, thank you for coming. Hello, Scott, if you're seeing this. Hi, Elizabeth. How is everything going? God is a God of miracles. God is a God that when He is in the midst, things start to happen. When God is in the midst, when we call upon the presence of God, then things start to change. The Lord intervenes and He starts taking control. He starts taking control. And things start to work for our good. But when we don't put the Lord in the midst, things don't go good. Things get worse. We need to focus on the Lord. If you would like to share this with your friends, those who need a bit of hope and a bit of positivity, a bit of God in their lives, so that way they can actually change their perspective. Share this stream with your friends and with your family, because we all need the presence of God. We're living in dark times already. We are living in dark times with the coronavirus running amok. Things are getting better, yes, but we still need the Lord now more than ever before. Share this stream so that they can experience His love, so that they can be healed, so that healing can happen. He is a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. Raise your hands. Raise your hands and worship the Lord. Worship the Lord. You are are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Aquí estás, debemos mover. Te adoraré, te adoraré. Aquí estás, obrando en mí. Te adoraré, te adoraré. Aquí estás, tocando mi corazón. Te adoraré, te adoraré. Aquí estás, sanando mi corazón. Te adoraré, te adoraré. Milagroso, abres camino, cumples promesas, luz de tinieblas, mi Dios, así eres tú. Milagroso, milagroso, abres camino, cumples promesas, luz de tinieblas, mi Dios, así eres tú. Milagroso, milagroso, abres camino, cumples promesas, luz de tinieblas, mi Dios, así eres tú. Milagroso, milagroso, abres camino, cumples promesas, luz de tinieblas, mi Dios, así eres tú. Waymaker, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 God bless you, Sammy. If you would like to share this, create a a party for the church so that they can experience worship from a member of the worship team again, by all means start it, because we need to be united in this time. We all need to be united in this world. Even when we don't see him, he is working for our good. Aunque no puedan ver, está sobrando. Si Dios no es Dios, cosas no voy a pasar bien. Pero Dios está con nosotros. God is with us. No matter what, God is with us. God is with us. Even when we don't see it, he is with us. Even when we don't see it, he's working. Even when we don't hear it, he's working. He is 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 working. Aunque no puedan ver, está sobrando. Aunque no puedan ver, está sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Aunque no puedan ver, está sobrando. Aunque no puedan ver, está sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Aunque no puedan ver, está sobrando. Aunque no puedan ver, está sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Aunque no puedan ver, que no puedan ver, está sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Aunque no puedan ver, está sobrando. Aunque no puedan ver, está sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Aunque no pueda ver, está sobrando. Aunque no pueda ver, está sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Aunque no pueda ver, está sobrando. Aunque no pueda ver, está sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Aunque no pueda ver, está sobrando. Aunque no pueda ver, está sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Siempre estás singing English. Even when we don't see it, you're working. Even when we don't feel it, you're working. Never stop, you never stop working. You never stop working. Even when we don't see it, you're working. Even when we don't feel it, you're working. You never stop 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 working. No matter what, our God continues to work. Our God works even when things seem dark, even when things seem bleak. He is working in our favor. In the last song that I sang this part. I sang, may his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and and your family and their children and their children. When we ask the Lord to be with us, He will be there. The Bible says, when 2 or 3 gathered in His name, He is here. When we call upon His name, He answers. Because we serve a God who will always come to the aid of His children, that will come to the aid of those who call upon His name. We need the presence of God more than ever. We need His presence now more than ever before. Necesitamos la presencia del Señor hoy más que nunca. Cuando claman el nombre del Señor, Él responde. Cuando 2 o 3 personas se unen en su nombre, Él está aquí, Él está aquí. 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 Milagroso, abres camino, cumples promesas, usted tinieblas, mi Dios, así eres tú. Milagroso, abres camino, cumples promesas, usted tinieblas, mi Dios, así eres tú. Milagroso, milagroso, abres camino, cumples promesas, usted tinieblas, mi Dios, así eres tú. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. The Lord is here. When 2 or 3 or more gather in His name, He is here. We want to dwell in His place. We want to dwell in His presence, where favor is found, where blessings can be found, where we rise to greatness. If we're not in His presence, we sink. But when we're in His presence, we rise. Take this time. We worship you, Jesus. We worship you, Jesus. In His presence is where I wanna be. This is a song that I sing in my church, in my youth group. And this song is about being in the presence of God, dwelling in His presence, because it's where we want to be. It's called Set a Fire. I don't know the song in Spanish, although para persona que no entiende esta canción en inglés, esta canción significa que en su presencia es donde quiero estar. Que se pone un fuego en nuestro corazón. Que su presencia es donde quiero estar. That in His presence is where we want to be. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. There's no place I would rather be. There's no place I would rather be. There's no place I would rather be than here in your love, here in your love. There's no place I would rather be. There's no place I would rather be. There's no place I would rather be than here in your love, here in your love. There's no place I would rather be. There's no place I would rather be. There's no place I would rather be than here in your love, here in your love. There's no place I would rather be. There's no place I would rather be. There's no place I would rather be than here in your love, here in your love. There's no place I would rather be. There's no place I would rather be. There's no place I would rather be than here in your love, here in your love. There's no place I would rather be. There's no place I would rather be. There's no place I would rather be than here in your love, here in your love. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more, 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 my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. Yo quiero más de ti, Señor. 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 Yo quiero más. 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 Yo quiero más y más y más de ti, mi Dios. Yo quiero más. Yo quiero más. Yo quiero más y más y más de ti, mi Dios. Yo quiero más. Yo quiero más. Yo quiero más y más y más de ti, mi Dios. Yo quiero más. Yo quiero más. Yo quiero más y más y más de ti, mi Dios. Yo quiero más. Yo quiero más. Yo quiero más y más y más de ti, mi Dios. Yo quiero más. Yo quiero más. Yo quiero más y más y más de ti, mi Dios. Vivo amor. 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 Vivo amor and more of you, my God. Vivo amor. Vivo amor. Vivo amor and more of you, my God. Vivo amor. Vivo amor. Vivo amor and more of you, my God. We want more. We want more. We want more and more of you, my Lord. Oh. We want more of you, Lord. We want more of you. For those who don't understand English, no. For those who doesn't understand Spanish, this song is basically saying that we're going to His holy place. In the highest place we're going because we want you more of the Lord. Ari. We worship you, oh Lord. Aquí estoy, Señor, Señor Jesús. He venido ante ti para ofrecer mi alabanza, gratitud. Tú eres digno, mi Jesús, de recibir la gloria y el honor. Aquí estoy, Señor, ante tu altar. Hoy entrego ante ti, pongo mi ser, toda obra en mi interior. Haz un nuevo corazón, dirigido todo tu espíritu, Señor. Vengo a ofrecer, mi Señor, mi corazón en adoración. Déjame entrar al santo lugar, te quiero adorar. Oh, pongo mi ser a tus pies, cual perfume de grato honor. Quiero llenar al santo lugar con mi adoración. En tus atrios estoy, Señor Jesús. He venido ante ti para ofrecer mi alabanza, es gratitud. Tú eres digno, mi Jesús, de recibir la gloria y el honor. Aquí estoy, Señor, ante tu altar. Hoy entrego ante ti todo mi ser, toda obra en mi interior. Haz tu nuevo corazón, dirigido todo tu espíritu, Señor. Vengo a ofrecer, mi Señor, mi corazón en adoración. Déjame entrar al santo lugar, te quiero adorar. Yo pongo mi ser, pongo mi ser a tus pies, cual perfume de grato olor. Déjame llenar el santo lugar con mi adoración. Yo vengo a ofrecer, vengo a ofrecer, mi Señor, mi corazón en adoración. Déjame entrar al santo lugar, te quiero adorar. Yo pongo mi ser, pongo mi ser a tus pies, cual perfume de grato olor. Quiero llenar al santo lugar con mi adoración. mi Señor, mi corazón de la adoración te anuncia al santo lugar, te quiero adorar. Yo pongo mi ser, yo pongo mi ser a tus pies, cual perfume te guardo. Quiero llenar al santo lugar con mi adoración. A tus pies arde mi corazón, a tus pies entrego lo que soy. Es el lugar de mi seguridad, donde nadie me puede señalar. Me perdonaste, me acercaste a tu presencia, me levantaste, hoy me postro a adorarte. No hay lugar más alto, más grande que estar a tus pies, que estar a tus pies. No hay lugar más alto, más grande que estar a tus pies, que estar a tus pies. Let's sing this in English. At your feet is where I want to be. At your feet I surrender all I am. It's in this place where I find security, where nobody can do me any harm. You have lifted me and brought me closer to your presence. You have risen me, now I bow down to worship. There is no place that's higher, that's greater than to be at your feet, to be at your feet. There is no place that's higher, that's greater than to be at your feet, to be at your feet. There is no place that's higher, that's greater than to be at your feet, to be at your feet. There is no place that's higher, that's greater than to be at your feet, to be at your feet. And right here is where I belong, kneeling at your feet. And right here is where I belong, at the feet of Jesus. Where I belong, kneeling at your feet. And right here is where I belong, at the feet of Jesus. Y aquí permanece, y aquí permaneceré. No hay lugar más alto, más grande que estar a tus pies, que estar a tus pies. No hay lugar más alto, más grande, oh, que estar a tus pies. No hay lugar, 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 no hay lugar más alto, más grande que estar a tus pies, 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 que estar a tus pies. No hay lugar más grande, más alto que estar a tus pies, que estar a tus pies, que estar a tus pies, que estar a tus pies. That's at your feet. That's at the feet of Jesus. That's at the feet of Jesus. There is no place that's higher, that's greater than to be at your feet. I love you, Lord. 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 Sorry, just looking at something. Anyway, I want to thank you. I'm going to get rid of this ticker. Just give me a moment. Thank you so much for those who are watching, for those who have stayed and worshiped along with me. As you can see, I was able to do this stream in one fell swoop rather than me having to let this stream be in chunks. So let me increase the gain just a little bit. That way I can talk to you guys a little bit further away because that stinks. Anyway, I want to thank you for those who have came to see the live stream. And by the way, I've been looking at the live stream stuff from this. So let me go through the chat real quick. Oh. Hi, Waleska. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me. Hello, Aaron. Thank you for joining me. Hi, Juan. God bless you. God bless you, Elizabeth Ortiz. Hi, Scott. How's everything going? I'm looking at my messages from here. So let me take a look at what's going on here. Thank you, John. Thank you, Juan Torres, for coming in. Taurus Boss, thank you. Elizabeth Ortiz, hallelujah. Yes, praise the Lord. The Lord deserves all the glory. I'm glad that you are good. I'm glad that everybody over there is good. Amen, Taurus. Amen, Taurus. Hi, Sammy. How's it going? How's it going, Sammy? Dios es fiel, yep, he is faithful. No matter what, our God is faithful. And I always believe that. Thank you for singing in Spanish. Yes, I do thank you. I do thank you for that. Yeah, I did sing it in Spanish. Amen. Praise God for his love and faithfulness. Yep. Hi, Charity. Hi, Winona. Hi, Kamaris. Hi, Lexus. Yes, we all want more. Yes, Patricia, we want more. We always want more. Hi, Amanda, or rather, Amina. Don't get me in trouble. Hi, Demis. Hi, Demis. Hi, Elizabeth Diaz. How's it going? Que hermosa canción. What a beautiful song. Yes, thank you. LaQuavia. Hi, LaQuavia. How's everything going? Everything over here is going good. Amen. Thank you. Sharon, God bless you. God bless you. Hi, Rosie. God bless. You just joined when I'm about to end the stream. I can't believe you actually did that. I start my... Okay, I'm going to have to make it a scheduled thing and let people know that I start off my streams every single day, every single Sunday at 8 p.m. It's 8 p.m. is when I'm going to be doing these live streams because that's what it is. But since you already have me on, I guess that's just another way of saying that God wants me to do another song. So I'm going to be doing another song here. So let me do another song because I do believe that God is pointing me in that direction. So let me do something. Let me see. Let me think of something. This is a song to basically say that I love you, Lord. That's the name of the song, is I Love You. This is a great song that really gets to me. And every time I listen to this song, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's amazing. So let me put the piano on. I think that would work if it actually would stay on. All right, so I'm sorry. This was not planned, by the way, and some of the other songs weren't planned either. But of course, some of the best worships, are when you don't plan them; they just happen. I love you, Lord. I love you, 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 I love you with all of my heart, with all of my soul. you. I love you. I love you with all of my heart, with all of my soul, with all of my mind, yeah. Oh, I lift my hands to you and say, te amo, 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 te amo con mi corazón, con todo mi ser, con todo en mi Dios. Oh, levanto mis manos y declararé, te amo, 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 te amo con mi corazón, con todo mi ser, con todo en mi Dios. Oh, levanto mis manos y declararé, te adoro, 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 te adoro con mi corazón, con todo mi ser, con todo en mi Dios. Oh, levanto mis manos y declararé, eres santo, 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 eres santo con mi corazón, con todo mi ser, con todo en mi Dios. Levanto mis manos y declararé, y declararé, y declararé, y declararé que eres santo con mi corazón, con todo mi ser, con todo en mi Dios. Levanto mis manos y declararé, y declararé, y declararé, tú eres santo. We shall declare that you're holy, Lord, that you're holy, Lord, that you are holy, Lord, that you are holy, Lord. So, that will be the last song. I'm going to take this off. So, like I said, let me just take off the reverb. So, I just want to say thank you for those who have came. For new comments, God bless you, Ruff. Thank you, Rosie. Hi, Celeste, and anybody else that just came into my live stream. Basically, I am going to be ending it in about a couple of minutes. I just wanted to talk a little bit. make sure that everything is smooth and everything looks all right. I have to fix that problem though. And hi, Waleska. Thank you. Nice of you to join and watch with me. And I just want to say my live stream is going to be ending. I have live streamed since 8 o'clock. And those who are watching, every single Sunday at 8 o'clock is going to be me here worshiping, doing live streaming. So pass the word around that at 8 o'clock, it's worship with me, and you get to share the live stream with your friends, with your family, share with your church mates. Oh goodness. Let me increase that a little bit. It's so blurry. Let's focus. So I just want to say thank you to watching my stream. And basically just come next Sunday. But I will not promise anything, but I hope to be doing a live stream tomorrow now that I got my internet fixed and everything. So take care. God bless you. See you next Sunday or tomorrow in that case. I'm going to try to see if I could find worship stuff to make the intro sound better. So take care. God bless you and goodbye. Goodbye. Bye.